Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Maginative AI Update. This week it's just going to be me. Richard is currently experiencing torrential rainfall up in Massachusetts, and we had 2 or 3 days this week of just nonstop rain. Thankfully, we have some blue skies now, but it has been severe flooding down here in South Florida. Thankfully, we're safe, and I'm here. So I'll be going over some of the most interesting stories this week. And for all intents and purposes, this week was Apple's week. We have been waiting. We have seen Microsoft, we've seen Google, we have seen plays from Meta, from Amazon, from all the players in big tech except Apple, and everyone was waiting for WWDC 2024, and it happened. So if you go on Maginative.com, you'll see the top stories. Basically, Apple announced Apple Intelligence. They're bringing personalized AI to all their devices. And I wrote down some notes that I wanted to talk about because I think it was a great event, but it raised a lot of questions. It confirmed a couple theses that I had in terms of where Apple stood in AI and the overall landscape. So I want to spend some time doing that today, talking about the week that Apple had, talking about my thoughts on their event, and then going over some other big stories that happened this week. So let's dive in. Let's kick things off with WWDC 2024. So Apple, of course, made a big announcement with Apple Intelligence and how they're going to be bringing generative AI capabilities to all their devices. They're going to be integrating it through a couple different on-device models that focus on language understanding and some image generation. And they're going to supplement this with their private cloud compute, which is going to be basically the same sort of AI, a little bit of a larger model on their own private servers. And the idea is that these are supposed to be super secure, just like the device that you're running the AI on locally, and they'll be able to have external auditors verify the security of their devices. So Apple won't be able to see your data, and you can rest assured that it's going to be safe. Of course, not everybody wants to be doing any sort of AI off device. And that is the biggest sticking point. So I guess for all the security and privacy that Apple has put in place, a very thoughtful execution, I guess the biggest question that people have is, will they have some sort of control? Will they be able to say, hey, no, I only want my AI to be on device, or will it be mandatory for it to go off device? With that said, though, they also announced a major partnership with OpenAI.
Apple Intelligence is available for free with iOS 18, iPadOS 18, and macOS Sequoia, bringing you personal intelligence across the products you use every day. Still, there are other artificial intelligence tools available that can be useful for tasks that draw on broad world knowledge or offer specialized domain expertise. We want you to be able to use these external models without having to jump between different tools. So we're integrating them right into your experiences. And we're starting out with the best of these, the pioneer and market leader ChatGPT from OpenAI, powered by GPT-4o.
They're going to be integrating ChatGPT across iOS, iPadOS, macOS. You'll be able to access ChatGPT through Siri and through these new Apple Intelligence experiences that they're going to be offering on their device. That was my Siri being triggered, by the way. So this is where I have a lot of thoughts because I think this partnership is really interesting. First of all, the question has to be asked as to why they needed to have this sort of partnership. The first thesis that I've had is that Apple was caught flat-footed with generative AI. They have been behind all this time. Apple seems to be making their tent in what they're calling personal intelligence, maybe on-device models or models on their own secure servers versus trying to compete with the more capable models like a GPT-4o. And that's it, right? Like when you think about it, if Apple wanted to guarantee privacy, they could have built their own large language model and have that be the model that you interact with. Instead, they built small language models that are on device. They built a medium-sized language model that's going to be on their server. It's obvious that Apple doesn't have a model that they believe is going to be at the same level as a ChatGPT or a Gemini. And the second issue I have with this relationship is why the need to have a special partnership with OpenAI? Apple Intelligence is going to be used what are called app intents. And that will give Siri access to data that is in third-party apps. Why not just have an integration with the ChatGPT app where I could say to Siri, ask ChatGPT to do X? Because the integration with ChatGPT feels a bit hobbled, at least with the new ChatGPT app. I'm going to have different voices. I'm going to be able to use the camera. I'm going to be able to do a lot more advanced things than it seems I'll be able to do through Siri. But the user experience also feels very un-Apple like. You'll need to ask your question to Siri. Siri is going to then decide whether or not it can do it on device or if it needs to go to private cloud compute to check Apple's model. And if not, then it will go to ChatGPT. And then it will need to ask your permission to use ChatGPT, which you'll grant, and then you'll be able to get your response. Versus if I explicitly could just say to Siri, why don't you just ask ChatGPT for this and give me back that response? It feels more like a platform integration versus what Apple has announced. But the other obvious reason why you'd want to do this is because then you'd be able to use any of these models. You'd be able to use maybe a Gemini app, maybe a Claude app, and open source models that people might want to use. So it just feels very forced that Apple would single out ChatGPT for this partnership. Of course, one might argue, well, the integration is not just with Siri. You have it in all of these Apple intelligence experiences that they're building in their ecosystem, and you'd be right. But again, here, the question is, why not make this something like SiriKit, where third-party model providers could make their models available versus it being a direct partnership? Like if you think about it, the state of the art probably for image generation could be arguably Midjourney, maybe Adobe Firefly. You have Stable Diffusion. You have all of these additional models. Why limit it to just saying, hey, if I want to access this capability within Apple Intelligence, it has to be through either Apple's model or OpenAI's model, right? It feels like Apple has made a very deliberate decision that they want to control who will be providing these models within their Apple Intelligence experience versus saying, hey, we're going to provide this platform similar to the App Store, but within our Apple Intelligence ecosystem for anyone to build and expand on. I think it's a missed opportunity. I would love to see them switch to a model that is more of a framework where third-party providers, independent developers can build on these experiences versus it just being limited to partnerships that Apple decides on, especially given that Bloomberg reported that there isn't actually any money exchange in hands between OpenAI and Apple. So apparently Apple is saying, hey, we're giving you access to this market, and OpenAI is saying, we're giving you access to this intelligence. So it's just an exchange there. And in the future, potentially they'll explore some sort of monetary partnership. But for now, it seems as if they're having this partnership for free. Either way, it was a big week for Apple. Investors responded positively to it. Apple became the most valuable company by market cap in the world again. Of course, Microsoft took back that lead within a few hours on Wednesday. But the point is, there are a lot of people that are excited about what Apple is promising. For me, I'm being a little bit reserved for a number of reasons. One, it seems that a lot of the features that Apple is promising won't make it in time for the fall when the new phones are going to be coming out. A lot of these will be coming next year. Additionally, Apple didn't do any live demos. The entire WWDC was pre-recorded. And for me, I've seen so many AI demos. I know the difference between recording a video showcasing a feature versus doing something in real time. And the fact is that we saw Astra from Google. We saw models from OpenAI that were impressive, and these were real-time live demos. And for Apple to be touting all of these features without being able to take out a phone and say, hey, this is it in real time, that was a bit disappointing. Additionally, all the beta models on iOS 18 beta and for the iPad and for Macs, nothing about Apple Intelligence. That's coming later this summer, right? And so again, you're hearing a lot in terms of promises, and this is coming. You're seeing demos in pre-recorded videos. Until we're able to use this in the wild, until we're able to try it ourselves, That's when we'll be able to really make judgment as to what this integration feels like. The second thesis I've had is that the business case for consumer AI hasn't been made as yet. For Microsoft, life has been easy because in terms of the business case for enterprise or business AI, it's pretty straightforward. You can increase productivity, you can reduce cost, you can bring automation to the workflows that people are doing. So that makes sense. People will pay for that. The question is, what will consumers pay for when it comes to generative AI? Apple is banking that this will allow them to sell more devices, but again, they will need to deliver on these promises that they're making. And it's yet to be seen how these generative experiences will play out from a user experience standpoint. When we use these tools in the future, will we be circling to search like Google wants us to do? For Apple, you can record phone calls and summarize them, or maybe their AI will be able to summarize your emails and categorize them for you. I mean, it feels like these are things that we could have done before in one capacity or another. And we'll see how it changes the user experience and if it changes it enough to encourage more device sales. One thing is certain, though, a lot of these, if not most of these AI experiences, will only be useful on the latest Apple devices. And so unless you have an iPhone 15 Pro and, of course, the new iPhones that they'll release in the fall, there won't be much for you to do with the new Apple Intelligence ecosystem. And so those are just some of my thoughts. Of course, there's a lot more that I would want to dive in when it comes to like private cloud compute, when it comes to Apple Intelligence broadly. I think there are people that are concerned in terms of the approach that Apple is taking, but personally, I want to commend them. I think the execution of local models that Apple did with a real-time specialization, with like their adaptation of LoRa, brilliant. The security measures that they have put in place with private cloud compute, it's undisputedly one of the best that we're seeing, right? In fact, the other big story this week is that Microsoft just announced yesterday, I believe, that they won't be shipping their recall feature anymore when it comes to their Copilot Plus PCs. And this was supposed to ship next week. And for those that don't know, this feature basically would be taking screenshots as you were using your device. And then you'd be able to leverage AI to remind you of things, to use your data to personalize that to you. If you think about it, Apple is doing the same with their semantic index. They're indexing all the data on your device, but Apple did it in a way that was secure and that was responsible, and Microsoft didn't. There were lots of security flaws that were discovered pretty much immediately. And now they're going to be taking a step back, going back to the drawing board, ensuring that it's secure before they roll it out. And that's the crux. That's the difference, I believe, that Apple will bring to the table in terms of their approach to AI. A lot of companies talk about responsible AI. Not many companies are living it. And it's good to see that Apple has been this thoughtful, because that's a very expensive setup. Private cloud compute, ensuring that they're going through all these measures every time a device connects with the server, that's going to be expensive. And that's the deliberate decision that Apple is making to say, hey, we're going to prioritize this approach because that's a part of our DNA. That's a part of the culture that we want to instill. That's what we believe. And so it's good to see that. But overall, a great week for Apple. Investors and consumers are excited about what's to come. Right now, it's going to just be on them to deliver. The other big story that I wanted to touch on was the launch of Dream Machine by Luma AI. I haven't seen the creative AI community this excited since last week with Kling. But kidding aside, this is a fun model. It's a video generative AI model. And people are saying, oh, this is the Sora killer. I don't think it is. I think it's a very capable model, but there is a massive difference between what OpenAI is building with Sora and its understanding of the world and physics versus what Luma AI has done, which I think is based on their foundations in NeRFs and text to 3D. And you see that once you start generating videos, you can kind of see some of the challenges that they have and the biases that their data has in terms of how it was trained. However, there's one capability that has everybody super excited. You can basically do image to video. You take an image, add a prompt to it, and it will stay true to that image for the most part. It will transform it in so many fun ways. People are having a wild time. Check this out. I mean, that is amazing. When you think of just the fun that you can have with a tool like this, I think Luma has stumbled onto something that people love, people are enjoying, obviously. And it's not about getting the best fidelity, it's not about getting the optimal output. There are obvious major flaws in it, but the fact that you can take an image and reimagine what the scene would play out to be, I think people are really enjoying that. You're seeing them take memes and just evolve them into videos and to tell a story. And that's what creativity, I think, is all about. The name of this product, Dream Machine, is ideal because it's showcasing that this isn't meant to really be that creative tool like a runway that will give you control over the direction of movement that you want. It's supposed to inspire, it's supposed to be exploratory, it's supposed to allow you to just really have fun. And that's what you're seeing. That's why I think a lot of creatives are excited about it. So if you haven't had a chance, definitely check out Dream Machine by Luma AI. Just throw a picture on there and have some fun. They're allowing you to generate 30 different videos, which I think is amazing. So go ahead, try it out, and let me know what you think. The last story that I want to touch on this week is the partnership between OpenAI, Microsoft, and Oracle. And in this partnership, you're seeing where OpenAI is basically saying, hey, we need more servers, we need more compute power for inference. And Microsoft isn't able to provide all of that for them. And so this partnership will allow them to use Oracle's servers to meet this demand. And if you think of just supporting the Apple device ecosystem, the last count that we had in November was that OpenAI had roughly 100 million weekly active users, so roughly 400 million per month. In February, Tim Cook on the earnings call said that there were now 2.2 billion Apple devices that were active in the world. And so there's going to be this major jump that will happen as more people start using ChatGPT through Siri and through the Apple Intelligence experiences. And I think you're seeing where OpenAI is recognizing that we need to get support from additional players, and Oracle has been playing that role, right? They've offered up their servers to Google. No, they're offering it up to users of OpenAI's technology. And it's important to note that they won't be training GPT-5 or any of their models on Oracle servers. They'll just be using it for inference. And so the partnership and exclusive access that Microsoft has will remain the same. But it just goes to show that when it comes to just raw compute power, NVIDIA is the real big winner in all of this. They're going to be building more servers. Of course, Microsoft and OpenAI are working on a $100 billion AI project Stargate. And you're seeing where the investment in resources is only going to keep increasing. And so a major win for Oracle, but it's really a foreboding of what's to come in terms of the resources that are going to be required for these companies delivering a really capable next generation model. All right, so with that, I'm going to stop there, guys. So many stories that are on the Maginative.com website around Microsoft, around Chrome and Google. Head on over to Maginative.com, check out all the stories there. Would love to hear your thoughts about Apple's WWDC event and about what Microsoft is doing and some of the partnerships that we spoke about. Hope you enjoyed today's segment. Give me some feedback. I always love to hear any feedback. Let me know if this sort of format is super helpful. But as you know, we really appreciate the support. But give this video a like and a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and leave a comment below. Until next week, one love. Bye.